Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy, and welcome back to another episode of Cinderella Phenomenon. So, let's jump right back in. Melanie looks down, looking genuinely distressed. I... I'm finished. May I be excused? But, sweetheart, you've barely touched your food. You may. Melanie stands up and ducks into a quick curtsy before rushing from the room. I do not move until I feel Rod's glare on me. I realize that I am meant to follow Melanie. Excuse me. I curtsy and follow after Melanie. I barely make it a few steps away from the dining hall before the door flies open and Rod is rushing after me. What are you doing here? I'm gonna answer him. I am here to break my curse. You expect me to believe that when you had people offering to help at the march-in? Rod's expression changes, anger clear in his eyes. No, I know why you are really here. What are you talking about? You thought you might take back what is rightfully yours, didn't you? You have no qualms about hurting my family again. I stare at him, nonplussed by his accusations. I carefully quell the simmering anger inside of me. The last thing I want is to be fired before I break my curse. I am not here to hurt anyone, so stop accusing me of such things. We glare at each other in silence. I had always thought that Rod was closed off and quiet, but his emotions are always blazing in his eyes. You shouldn't be here. Rod steps back, but his gaze is still fierce. I do not have time for this. I'm going to find Melanie. Why, so you can insult her? No, because it is now my job to attend to her. Excuse me. The last place I expect to find Melanie is in the throne room. Much to my surprise, I find her standing alone inside, staring up at the throne. Oh! When she turns to face me, she has a guilty expression on her face. I'm sorry. What is she apologizing for? I was very rude earlier, walking out on everyone at breakfast. Melanie gazes back at the throne and sighs. I'm sure any other girl would be happy to have the ball. I mean, it's like something out of a fairy tale. But She sighs once again and looks down at her clasped hands. It all sounds so perfect in the fairy tales. 3 days is all it takes before everyone's found their true love. But I don't think that's how it works out in real life, do you? I have nothing to say in response when Melanie turns her beseeching gaze to me. I don't know how I'm supposed to marry someone I barely even know. Is this really what it means to be the crown princess? Isn't this precisely what you wanted? Excuse me? When your mother married the king, you became a princess. You went from rags to riches overnight. I cannot keep the bitterness from my voice when I speak. Your life is playing out like Cinderella's, is it not? All you are missing are the glass slippers, and even then I am sure the king could arrange for a pair. I cannot understand why you are so unhappy. Neither can I. Melanie turns away from me to face the throne once more, and in the sun that streams through the windows, I see something shining on her cheeks. Is she crying? I am so ungrateful. Melody, what would you do? What? If you were in my place, if you became crown princess overnight, would you go through with the ball? For the sake of Angeal's tradition, for the sake of your role? I would never do anything so worthless. The king never brought up the subject with me. He most likely knew I would have refused. Melanie suddenly pats her cheeks and turns to me, a wry smile on her face. I could do with some fresh air. Shall we go to my friend's shop in town? We have only just exited the throne room when Melanie stops short and I almost bump into her back. Oh! Your Highness, what a pleasant... Sir Mithras abruptly stops to stare at me. Oh, why is Sir Mithros looking at me so intently? Is something the matter, Sir Mithros? No, nothing at all, Your Highness. I am just amused. Amused? Oh, you haven't met my new maid. This is Melody. Melody? There is something in Sir Mithros's gaze that I do not trust. The silence is stifling, so I curtsy at him. Sir? Charming. Sir Mithros turns his attention back to Melanie. Where are you off to on this pleasant day? Oh, just off to visit a friend. Make sure you bring your guards with you, Princess. Of course. I wonder what's taking him so long. Melanie decided to invite Rod to join us on her visit. One of the guards offered to get Rod for her, but he still has yet to return. Another stands with us by the gates, ready to escort us into town. Why does the king even keep these incompetent fools if they cannot find a single person? Maybe we should go look for Rod. But then, what if he gets here as soon as we go searching for him? I sigh. I will go look for him. You could stay here. But you don't need to run errands for me. She has yet to ask me to do anything. What does she think a maid even does? I look at her solemnly, not answering her. Finally, she relents. Thank you, Melody. I incline my head just slightly before walking off. I feel like a babysitter. I cannot believe I have to search for Rod. This is only slightly better than being dragged around by that broom. I turn around the corner and nearly bump into someone. I take a few steps back just in time. Princess! I look up in shock. Fritz's surprise mirrors my own. Where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. He pauses to stare at my clothing. Why are you wearing a maid's uniform? Fritz, you remember who I am. I would never forget you, Princess Melody. But it does seem like I am the only one who remembers you. What is going on, Princess? The only people who remember me are the witches, fairies, and... Fritz, are you? I stop when I hear the sound of approaching footsteps. Fritz turns at the sound and then stoops low into a formal bow when he sees Rod. Your Highness. Rod's impassive face twists with annoyance when he sees me. Rod does not even acknowledge Fritz as he walks past him to stop in front of me. Shouldn't you be attending to my sister? I don't understand. Prince Rod, do you know why the princess is dressed like this? Rod is clearly just as surprised as I am that Fritz remembers me. You recognize her? You remember the princess too? But if you knew, why didn't you say anything when she first went missing? And can someone explain to me why she's attending to Princess Melanie? This is... Fritz! I cut him off before he could ask any more questions. I feel Rod's gaze on my back as I turn to look at Fritz. No more questions. But Princess, right now I am a palace maid. A what? It is a long story, and I have no time to explain now, so do not ask. Fritz is clearly discontent. He seems to struggle for a few moments before he finally sighs and nods. Yes, Your Highness. Though it is nice to hear someone here speak my title, it will not do if Fritz calls me that on accident. It is just Melody for now. But... I turn to face Rod. Melanie is waiting. What? The guard could not even deliver her message? Where are you going? Melanie wants to visit her friend's shop in town, and she wants you to go with us, Rod. Town? Ordinarily, I would not mind Fritz joining us, but right now he might just be unnecessary company. He may very well give me away. Rod barely wants to speak with me when it is just the two of us. I doubt Fritz would make him more sociable. I am assuming that accompanying you is not an option at this point. Yes. Fritz looks down for a moment before looking at Rod. I am sorry to ask this of you, your highness, but since she refuses to let me do so, please look after Princess Melody in my place. Ridiculous! I do not need to be coddled. Even if I did, Rod couldn't care less if I am hurt. I will do my best, Sir Fitzgerald. I cannot tell if he is being genuine or not. Fritz bows to the both of us. Stay safe, Melody. And you, your highness. Rod turns and begins to walk away without another word. Come on. Rod is silent as we make our way back to the palace gates. I am still thinking about what he said to Fritz earlier. Why would Rod agree to Fritz's request? Because he just wanted him to leave? I stare at Rod's back as he walks in front of me. Sometimes I cannot figure out what he is thinking. Rod, Melody! And Melanie beams when she catches sight of us. Are you ready? Rod crosses his arms. He does not look very happy with his sister. Even though Rod is younger, I cannot help but think that he often sounds like the older of the two. I am busy, Melanie. I can't keep dropping everything whenever you want to leave the palace. I'm sorry, but I just really needed some fresh air today. You could get plenty of fresh air on the palace grounds. I felt I needed to be off the palace grounds. And Melanie's face drops as she looks down at the ground. Rod lets out an exasperated sigh before stepping inside the carriage. Come on. Rod? Just for an hour, okay? Thank you. I soon come to realize that it is easier to walk around town now that everyone has forgotten who I am. The atmosphere around town feels brighter. All the spiteful stares are gone. Princess Melanie! Oh, how are you doing? Is your wife feeling better? Melanie has responded to most of the people who know her. She seems to know a good majority of the people in town. I hang back as Melanie speaks with the man. The night escort hovers somewhat nearby, watching for disturbances. We are going to take longer than an hour if she continues like this. I am not going to rush her. Don't you need to return to the palace to continue whatever work it is that you were doing? Rod raises an eyebrow at me. I do have to get back to my studies, but my family always comes first. If this makes Melanie happy, then I will gladly come with her to town. It's a small thing. Happy? I look more closely at Melanie. She is smiling, but then she always smiles. I do not understand. She's more at ease talking to the townspeople sometimes because they don't judge her. Why would she have to worry about being judged? It is clear that everyone adores her. Melanie takes the man's hand in hers as she wishes him well. Rod points out the gesture. See that? That's goodness. You could learn something from my sister Melanie. Not Melanie. Melody. Is goodness pretending to be interested in the lives of strangers? Melanie eventually says her goodbyes before walking toward a familiar store. This is the toy shop I visited with Melanie and Rod before. I glance at Rod and notice the expression on his face. He seems conflicted. But why? But before I can ask, Rod marches in front of me and decisively pushes open the door. When I enter, Melanie is already hugging the shop girl, Viorica. Melanie, you look as beautiful as ever. Oh, please, I look the same. You, on the other hand. Melanie steps back before nodding, a bright smile on her face. Being in love suits you. When is the wedding? Wedding? She is already engaged. I catch a small movement out of the corner of my eye and turn to glance at Rod. I notice his fingers clench into a fist before he quickly hides his hand behind his back. Though his expression is as impassive as always, I notice a tenseness in his shoulders. Deckmond and I haven't set a date yet, but it should be soon. Would you... Viorica trails off when she notices the rest of us. Hello, Rod. Viorica. His tone is surprisingly static. Last time he was here, I was sure he sounded friendlier. So, what can I help you with, Melanie? Looking for another doll? Another doll? But Melanie is not interested in dolls. Oh, no, I'm just here to see you. I can't stay for long since Rod has things to do. Melanie, I'll wait for you outside. Oh, okay. I know it is my job to follow Melanie around, but I am not at all interested in hearing her talk to this girl. Oh, or does she even want me here? Let's go outside. My time might be better spent trying to improve Rod's opinion of me. If I could get him to tell me precisely what I have done wrong, I can make up for it. I hope that would give me a good deed. I curtsied to the two girls. Excuse me, Your Highness. I shall wait outside with Rod. I coughed to clear my throat. With the prince. Okay, I won't be long. I moved to stand next to Rod, who was leaning against the wall. Rod sighs in annoyance. Why do you keep on following me? Tell me how to rectify whatever wrong I have done to your family. This again? I cannot help but scowl at Rod's answer. You spout all this nonsense about goodness, but refuse to help me. How is that good? You haven't given me any reason to help you. What? If you're not serious about genuinely learning how to be good, then I'm not interested in helping you. Maybe I could catch him off guard by bringing up his response in the toy shop just now. Fine, then I will make normal conversation. Who is Viorica to you? Has she done something to hurt you or family too? Viorica is a childhood friend. She is not like you at all. Oh? Then why were you acting so cold to her? You obviously did not want to be inside the shop. Rod looks away from me and absently kicks a pebble on the ground. That is none of your business. I sigh, disappointed with Rod's reaction. Rod turns away from me as Melanie exits the shop. Ready to go? Melanie nods with a small smile. The two of us begin to make our way to the palace again. By the time we return to the palace, evening has fallen. I hope we're not late for dinner. The minute the carriage doors open, we are greeted by two familiar faces. Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithros stand before us. Princess Melanie, Prince Rod, I was on my way to look for you when Sir Mithros informed me of your whereabouts. He glares at the knight escort, and the knight shrinks back. Sir Alcaster turns sharply to me afterwards, his eyes narrowed. Why is he looking at me like that? It was getting late, and the queen was worried. I am so sorry. Princess Melanie, Prince Rod, it is almost time for dinner. Please let me escort you inside. Sir Mithros gestures for them to follow him. I am about to follow after them when Sir Alcaster suddenly moves to block my path. His eyes are cold. He opens his mouth to say something, but then closes it and shakes his head. You are dismissed, girl. You may go back to your quarters. But that is an order. His gaze is piercing. Even when I was the princess, I was not able to stand up to that gaze. Yes, sir. After dinner, I make my way back to the room assigned to me. As I walk down the hall, I notice Rod heading in my direction. Rod? He suddenly grabs my arm and pulls me away down the hall. Where are you taking me? Rod does not answer, just continues moving until we reach an unfamiliar door. What is going on? Rod cuts me off by placing a finger on my lips. He looks around warily before finally pulling me in through the door with him. This place! I have heard of this place before, but I have never seen it. Is this the secret passage that leads into town? Rod does not answer me. He simply keeps walking, and I see no other option but to trail after him. How is it that you know of this place? He still refuses to answer. Are you deaf? Rod suddenly stops, and I bump into his back. I stumble back with a scowl. You ask too many questions. Because you refuse to answer any of them. I glare back at him until Rod makes an exasperated sound. Lady Parfait is the one who told me about this passage. It makes sneaking out of the palace easier. Parfait! She did not give me any explanation as to how she knew of this place. There are only meant to be 2 copies of the key. The king has one, and Sir Alcaster has the other. Then why do you have a key? Don't tell me you stole it from the king. I am not a thief. Lady Parfait also has a copy. She saw fit to provide me with a key for my own use. What? How does Parfait have a key to this place? You'll have to ask her that yourself. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys. So, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. By subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video.